Hello and welcome to the 514th Reserves DTS step-by-step tutorial completing a voucher. Hopefully you had time to review our annual tour authorizations tutorial and the making reservations tutorial. This example is going to follow with creating the voucher from that annual tour once the approving official approved the authorization. So once you log in to DTS, so under authorizations, once again you'll see that AO1, you want to go to vouchers, and normally you will not see it unless your unit ODTA or someone in our office pulled it down for you. So if you do not see your vouchers, go to create new document and select voucher. You will then see your trip and select create voucher. That will open it up to the preview page, and once again, just like in the authorization, you just want to make sure nothing changed. Leaving from home, coming to McGuire, back home. Check your expenses that you've already added, because in that authorization, remember, we want to add the highest guess to what the expenses would be to make sure that we request enough funding from budget. So you already added your mileage, your tolls, and you already uploaded a copy of your orders. So you want to check everything and make sure it's fine. So in this example, I'm going to go through a couple things you may run into. The first example I'm going to go over is we always tell you to go down to your actual trip cost and make sure that you're allowed and your actual match. So in this example, they do not, and this happens a lot. Normally it is because of lodging, so you can see the difference in the amount of allowed to actual and lodging. So we want to go to the per diem, which is where our lodging is, and select that to see what that difference is. So in this case, even though we put $77 for our lodging costs here at McGuire, it only populated 70. So the fix for that is to hit the ellipse over here, these three little dots, hit edit, and then you just want to scroll down and you're going to see adverse effects commercial quarters. Select that and save adjustments, and that should fix it for you. So you notice it's here too for these dates 7/14 to 7/16, and once again, just like the authorization, it has grouped similar days, so they're all together because they were the same amount. If we wanted to see them separately, just select this, it will open them up, and then you can see you would not get paid the $7 each night for all of these. So that's one of the biggest issues we see members having, is they don't realize this and they push it through. So then they find out they didn't get paid enough to pay their government travel card. So we're going to put it back, group similar days, hit the ellipse, hit edit, and same thing, adverse effects commercial quarters. Even though it's not commercial quarters, this is the fix to have that adjust for us. And remember, annual tour is 0, so we had hit that special rate, and I'll show you just to make sure. Under meals, special rate defaults to 0, and that's what we had done in the authorization. So our meal rate on any stationary days were 0. Our coming in traveling back home dates were at 75%. So now if we go back to our review voucher and go back to that section to show our actual trip cost, we now see they both match, the lodging both match. So that's one of the main issues we see members having. Okay, so you definitely want to make sure that you have everything in there. You want to make sure you have all your substantiating documents. So travel orders we had put in before. Just make sure sample file upload for those travel orders, they're in there, you're good to go. Now, we don't see the lodging receipt here, but if you go back to the expenses, that's going to show you everything that you added as an expense. And like we mentioned in the authorization, it lists the lodging. You did not re-add it here. So you want to make sure that you only put it under that per diem and it populated here for you by putting it under per diem. Had you booked it in making that reservations, the lodging, it would have come up under reservations. So you would still be good. So you can see here we have our little triangle telling us receipt required. So it's not going to let you sign this voucher and submit it with this triangle showing. It's telling you you have got to show the receipt for the lodging. So the easiest thing to do is just hit details. Once again, you're going to see those dates that you had, your $77 now that you updated it, 13th through the 16th. And then you can just, if you have that lodging receipt on your desktop or wherever you have it, just left click, drag and drop, and release. And as I mentioned in the authorization, if you click retain as PDF, it does make us have to hit the download to see it. If you do not check it, which we prefer, and just hit attach, then we can see it as that preview. Either way is fine, but it just makes it easier for us. So we hit attach, it should be attaching it, processing, and now you'll see it shows up in here, sample lodging receipt to upload. And just a reminder, lodging receipt must show the member's name, the nightly charges, so detailed out, and a confirmed payment showing your Visa card and that it paid, that you used your government travel card. And if overseas, out of the United States, it must have the US dollar amount written in. You cannot just leave it in euros or whatever currency it was in. You must show what the amount is in US dollars. So that's all you need to do to put the receipt. If you wanted to add another one, you can add as well. If you wanted to delete it and that was the wrong receipt, you can do that here. And you can add as many as you want there. That's fine. So just hit details again and that will collapse. So now you should have everything that you needed in there. Your mileage, your tolls, and then your total expenses. So then you just want to go through, once again, confirm your profile that your expiration date of your government travel card is still good. Hit continue. And it's going to put you right back to that review your voucher again. Show you everything. And when you go to review voucher, it's going to show you your expenses. It's going to let you have the total of those expenses, so you make sure you're right. Now, like I said in the authorization, I purposely did something that was 300 miles. If it was over 400 miles, you have to have that cost comparison to show if the flying would have been cheaper, and then you select the lesser amount of the two. So your AO, your reviewer, is going to check here, location, coming from home to Joint Base. So make sure you're using Joint Base McGuire, the Burlington, the 08641, and not the Ocean County one. So then you're just going to go through, continue, and then if there was anything you wanted to tell us under comments, you could do add comments here and add them. Anything you want to type there, you can type as much as you want it. And then once again, we're back at those pre-audit screens. We had completed them in the authorization, but you may have new ones here. So you always just want to check to make sure if there's a red star, you have something annotated there. Okay, and continue. And in this case, it's showing T entered because I'm not the member, but in your case, it would say signed, and you would say I agree to sign and push it through. So that's the main thing with your voucher. So let's go over a few things that you may have issues with. So one thing you always want to make sure before you sign it, number one, that you did do that review voucher and everything's correct and you uploaded all substantiating documents, especially your orders or mod to orders, any non-availabilities if you were put off base, anything that we would need. You do not want to sign this voucher if it is not correct. We have members who sign it and put in the notes, I know this is wrong, please correct. No, you want to correct it before you send it, or check with your unit ODTA and have them help you with it before you submit it. You do not want it sitting in our queue to be reviewed when it could have been fixed and done correctly. So if you know it's correct, then you want to go to financial summary and you want to make sure what's coming to you and what's going to your government travel card. So under financial summary, entitlement summary shows net distribution. Under personal, which is your checking account, $488.53, going to your government travel card, GTCC 308. So let's say that you wanted to make sure that you covered expense that's also on your card, that you had used the card for food one night. Now, food's in your meals and incidental, so it's not a separate expense, but you could have used your government card to cover that. So you want to do adjust disbursements, and you want to do additional payment paid to GTCC. So you can either do $50 here, and you'll notice it's going to take it from personal and give it to the card. So $50, and it will add it to here. And you're going to hit save. Now, the same thing can be if you decided you already paid your card off and you don't want anything at all going to the card. That's overpaid GTCC, and you would put that full amount that was going to personal in here. That was going to the card in here, and then that would then send it all to personal. Now make sure that you have no balance on your government travel card. If you do this, you will get an audit flag at the end saying that you made that adjustment. But this is where you can make any adjustments, and it can only be done in the voucher stage. You cannot do this in the authorization. So that's just a little tidbit. So it did change. Now notice what happens when you make any kind of adjustment like that. You're going to go through again, continue, review the voucher. Again, it sends you here every time, and it sends you to the audit page. You cannot go directly to the sign screen without it going past these justifications. So now we have a new one. As soon as we made any kind of difference in this voucher, we got a new audit flag. You add it, government individual amount. So the justification, paying additional for food. Oops. Okay, so paying additional for food, save. That's why you adjusted the amount more going to the card. And then once again, all the other ones were done, and you're going back and hitting continue and signing it. So that is how you would do your voucher. So now, just to change things up a little bit, let's say you had a mod to your orders and things were changed. So we're going to go to edit itinerary, and if this trip was, in this case, the 13th to the 17th, but instead it ended on the 16th, we want to change that. Now that's easy enough to do, but before you do that, I suggest, and in this case it really wouldn't make a big difference, but if you happen to have a trip that you went a lot of places, especially overseas, especially a lot of different locations, a lot of different lodging costs, you would want to go to the per diem page first, because when you edit that itinerary, it will default everything here. So our suggestion is, in Windows is the snippet tool. Select that snippet tool, say new, and actually take a little snippet of what that page looks like so you know what it was. So by doing that, you'll remember it was 77. Like I said, in this case, it's not that bad. But if you had a whole page of 77, then 96, and then you went, somewhere else, or you had TDYs in between, it was zeros, you want to make sure you put everything back at as it was. But snippet tool, make a snippet. Then when you go into edit itinerary, you'll be fine because you can put it back. So in this case, like I said, we're just going to do an easy change just to show you, but we're changing it to the 16th. So leaving on the 13th, back home, it changed it to the 16th. You just want to make sure. Didn't change a location. You can change the location, but we're not in this case. But if you change the location or you add a location, make sure you do them in order. If you had like 3 or 4 locations here, and you try to add one in between, it's not going to work. You're going to keep getting an error. You have to keep them in order, so you're technically going to be overriding Joint Base, Key West, Ramstein, Joint Base, and make sure they stay in order even if you're hitting that plus. So in this case, we just changed one simple day, hit continue, and OK. Now, we're going to check to see, did it change our itinerary? So we should have our per diem page, and it's saying more and more expenses are required documentation. At this time, yes, we're going to confirm just to get there. So it changed it to the 16th for us, but once again, it defaulted back to $70, and it gave us that full meals and incidentals, M&IE, for those middle days. So now we do have to go right back in, edit, make it the 77, and we may as well, because we know it's going to make us, we have our adverse effects. Let's see if that adjusted for us. Yes, and it changed that to 0, and it's catching up with what we're supposed to have here. So 77, make sure adverse, make sure meals are 0, save. Okay, so we're back where we were without the one extra day. Now, what is that going to do as well? Well, when we first did the authorization, when we were guessing the amounts, we put our mileage and tolls in. So our mileage and toll dates should now change from the 17th to the 16th. So on here, you just want to hit details and change it to the 16th. Okay, done. And update. Okay, and then same thing with the tolls. Change it to the 16th and done. And update. All right. So now, because we changed the lodging, once again, it's given us that triangle, and it wants to know what happened with our receipt. So we're going to just pull it in again and attach. And now it's showing only through the 15th because we went home on the 16th. So that's how you would make adjustments in here. So if you change that itinerary, just remember you have to really change a lot of other stuff. So that's why number one in the authorization, you want to make sure everything's correct so that when you get to the voucher, hopefully you don't have to change anything. But if you get into the voucher, double check that first page review voucher to make sure the trip is correct before you start adding or correcting any kind of lodging, because you're just going to have to do it again. Okay, so everything's in there. We should be good to go. And everything should be fine to continue. So just to show you one more thing, and approving officials, ODTAs would want to know this as well. So remember how we had to put the lodging receipt back in because it knew the dates changed? Well, if we go up here, this file folder will show everything you've put in at any time. So you can download all documents, which would be your orders, your lodging receipts, everything, and then, put it where it goes with these little paper clips you want to make sure you add correctly. You can also, like I showed you in the authorization, expand all, and it will actually go through and show more detail of everything you have. Okay, so that's the expand all. And then also collapse if you wanted to just add PDFs here, but like I said, I prefer you drag them and put them in so that we don't have to download, because PDFs you have to download if you do that. And then here is you have uploaded documents waiting to be assigned. So this should be that original lodging receipt that it kicked back out, still kept it in the voucher, but kicked it back out in case we needed it for something else. So you could apply that. You would hit the check mark and hit next and apply it where you wanted it, if you did want that one. But just so you know, all your documents are still in here. They're just either hiding up here, or this one would actually be still in here as well. And then you can add any more notes, and I showed in the authorization, so we'll just show one more time. In the voucher, you go down to the bottom of all these expenses and you'll see documents, and that's where you can put your travel orders, memo, which would be your non-A, your AEA. You have constructed travel worksheets right in here, and then that way you have everything, but it's under documents. So hopefully that helps you complete a voucher. So I also wanted to show you, once your voucher was signed and your approving official and your reviewer get it, you may get an email saying it was returned. So you want to go to vouchers, you're going to see it says returned. Now this is also the area, if you wanted to see if other ones got paid or pushed through, you would hit show inactive documents and click that, and it would show all the ones you might have had. But in this case, you want to see why this was returned. You're going to hit edit because you're going to fix it, or you could hit view if you know you're not going to work on it now, but we're going to work on it now. So we're going to say edit. We'll open it up. And if you go down to sign and submit, now you should have gotten an email telling you why it was returned, but if not, you can see it right here. Please upload mod to orders cutting trip short. So I did this as an example to show you. I mentioned to you we changed the date. I mentioned to you we needed the mod, and I had already gone ahead and in the pre-audits I had typed in there CMOD. So at the bottom here, because once again when we did that edit to the itinerary and changed everything, it also made all these audits have to be redone as well too. So then it said trip date not authorized. I said CMOD to orders. So that would be your thing, but you need to put that in there. So what we would do is go back to those expenses. And then once again, it tells us we're adjusting this document. We're going to say add. We're going to click down, go to documents, travel orders, and we're going to say mod to orders. And we're going to add this one. And this one can just be a sample file to upload. And we have that in. Now it's going to retain it as that, and you can, like I said, do it or take it off to have it regular. Doesn't matter either way. As long as you have it in there. We just needed to make sure it was in there. And we're going to say add. So now it should be in there. And then we'll just go right back through. That's all it said we needed. Continue. Like I said, you do still have to go past that audit page to get to sign in. So you can either click right to that, but you can't go right back to signing. So once you're past that page again, your voucher is done. It goes right back to the reviewer. So in this case, it was returned. Our example here is Helen. You would want to send an email to the person that returned it to you, so that if, in case RQ has 200 vouchers in it, maybe if you send an email saying, I made the correction, please re-review, send an email. We can try to do that one ahead of putting you at the bottom of the list again. So once again, though, if you just wanted to check your voucher and did not want to edit it, just to see if it was paid, because that same area would tell you when it paid and all that, you would just go to vouchers and view. And then that way you could still see everything, but not have to re-sign it. If you hit edit, you must re-sign it. So it's going to show it was adjusted. So if it's adjusted, it has to be re-signed. But this is the same area that will tell you it paid, what paid date, how much went where, and you can always show previous stamps to see the whole kit and caboodle of everything that was done for this voucher. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed this step-by-step tutorial. Thank you.